Hi, hello everyone. I am Prashant Nandam. Welcome back to my channel. As you all know, we have started Terraform Beginner to Advanced series and we have completed session 1 and 2. And in session 1, we have covered introduction to infrastructure as a code, and we have seen, and in session 2, we have seen how to install Terraform and how to install VS Code, and what is Terraform workflow and how it works with AWS. We have learned all those things, and today we will cover session 3. In session 3, we will see what is providers and what is multi-cloud concept and resource block and data sources. And this best practice and official links I given it for your reference. You can go through them. And before proceeding with the demo, I kindly request you all to subscribe to my channel for more DevOps related content, and please follow for more updates and share this channel information to someone who is interested in learning DevOps courses. Cool, let's begin. So I have prepared notes for the same, and you can go to this readme file for more information, for theoretical information. And if you see providers in yesterday's demo, in session 2 we have seen providers here, right? We just mentioned AWS and region, but what is this provider actually do and what it is? Provider is like a plugin that allows the Terraform to communicate with APIs like most of the cloud platforms. If for suppose we have used AWS here, and you may use Azure or GCP or any other platform. So this provider will help you to allow your Terraform to communicate with the AWS APIs, and that's what this provider will do. Okay, and the example is this one. Provider is AWS and it is calling for region AP South 1. And once we write this code and we do Terraform init, Terraform plan up and apply, this tells the Terraform to connect to AWS Mumbai region. This block will tell the Terraform to connect to the cloud AWS and reach to Mumbai region. That's what it means. So that's how it works. And let's create a new session 3. Just give me a moment. Oh, readme is outside. Okay, cool. I thought readme is inside of this session 2. So I was just wondering. Does session 2 is also have readme main.tf? Okay, fine. I'll remember. So we have AWS session 3 here. Let's change our directory to session 3. Cool. We are in session 3 now. Let's perform all our actions here. Let's create a file inside the session 3. Let's give it as provider.tf. Same like as we did yesterday, but yesterday we have retained same folder, right? But today we will make a habit to mention that in provider.tf. So we have created provider.tf file, right? Or you can mention it as providers.tf as well. And in provider.tf, what we have to do, we can just copy this one for a moment. Okay, let's rewrite. No worries, I can write it again. Provider AWS, and inside this, what we can mention, region. Let's mention region, which is AP South 1. This is our region. As we mentioned, this tells the Terraform to connect to AWS in Mumbai region. That's how it works. And now in providers also we have required providers. Okay, this is a simple block for provider, and we do have required providers. Let me show you that as well. required providers. In required provider, what we will do, let me show you the GitHub file. This is the one. Let me copy this and paste it instead of writing again. Now if you see Terraform and required provider, in production we always lock version to avoid unexpected breaking changes. Okay, so that is the reason why we use these providers with required providers. Here if you see, we are using Terraform, and inside that required providers, and in required providers we are mentioning source is HashiCorp and the AWS, and the version is tilt and 5.0. And then again we are mentioning this is the required provider from Terraform, and this is again provider. What is the difference between required provider and provider, you may ask me. So for that, if you see here, required providers, which means this path is, it tells Terraform which provider plugin and version to use. These are the plugin and version. We are using AWS CLIs and APIs, right? I mean, we have installed AWS CLI in our local machine, and we have mentioned it will, provider will call to AWS with the APIs and APIs, correct? So this is the required provider, and where we are telling Terraform which provider plugin and version to use, and this is the provider which is HashiCorp and AWS, and this is the version which we are mentioning to use. And again we have multiple options in this plugin required providers. I have prepared a notes for here. You can see what does instead of this symbol tilt, and then you can directly use equal to. When you provide equal to, it will only use this exact version and no upgrades. I mean, whatever we have mentioned here, that version is only used, no other version or no upgrades are used. And when you mention greater than symbol, only version only version which is higher than 5.0 is used, and 5.0 is not included in that. And when you mention greater than equal to, for an example we have mentioned equal to, right? If I mention greater than symbol here and greater than or equal to, what does it do in required providers? Whenever we mention greater than or equal to symbol, version 5.0 and anything higher is allowed, starting from 5.0, and anything which is higher than that is allowed. And when we mention less than 6.0, in this way, less than 6.0, when we mention less than 6.0, any version below 6.0 is allowed, and this 6.0 is excluded. Similar way, when we use less than or equal to 5.2, versions up to 5.2 are allowed, including this 5.2 as well. And when we use not equal to 5.0.1, all versions except the specific versions are allowed. When you use range combination, which is greater than or equal to 5.0 and less than 6, when you use this both combination, only versions between 5.0 and 6.0 are used. When we use range operator, all versions starting from 5.0 are allowed, but it will block 6.0. Similarly, we have mentioned the same again range operator, which is greater than or less than 5.2 and less than 5.3. Only the updates within 5.2 and 5.2.5 are used, not 5.3. So this is how we use range operator and required providers. You can play with them for a while by changing these things. For now, I will go with this one, greater than or which one will go? We'll go with this one, 5.0. If I mention tilt 5.0, what it is doing? All versions except this one. let's use this version less than or less than it is already less than, no? So I can leave it as it is. I hope you understood what is provider, what is required provider. Cool. Now we have, let me highlight this, and then what we have we also have multiple providers. I mean, we can use multiple providers for multiple regions. I mean, let me show you. We can use provider. Let me remove this one. Yeah, provider, and we'll go with AWS, and region we'll mention same region, let's say AP-South-1, and the next provider what we'll write, we will write same provider again, AWS again, and in region we will mention US East 1, US East -1. I forgot to mention these brackets. Now if you see, both are similar, but you need to add an alias here. Alias. What is alias? I will show you. I will tell you. Now, alias is used to create multiple configurations of the same provider. Now we have two providers, right? If you see here, let's remove this provider. We have Terraform required provider. What is it? It has to use HashiCorp AWS, and which is less than less than 6. And then we have provider. What provider it has to use? Region is AP South 1, and then we have alias. Oh, two ways, huh? It has to use alias. In alias, what it is telling, what we have mentioning, US and region. Now when you create a resource in this particular region, it will be created in two. It will create an AP South 1, and it will also get created in alias region as well. Until you mention it in alias, then only it will create. If you do not mention alias, then the resource will not create in this both regions. For an example, I can show you. Just give a moment. I believe I have written somewhere. Region provider in this multi-cloud. Okay, I haven't mentioned in the readme, but this is what it is. Now what I'll do, let's add another folder which is main.tf. In main.tf, what we will do, we will add we will add two we will add a resource, and we will let that create a resource in the AWS. For that, what we need to do, in main.tf we need resource, right? Resource, and resource name is AWS underscore instance, and name we'll mention it as, in name we can mention whatever we like to. So we have providers and we have resource, and name we'll mention what name we can give. Let's say India server or South server, as we are creating in AP South. And to create an instance, what all we required, we need AMI. For an AMI, let's copy from this. This is working AMI, right? So instead of getting new one, we can use this existing one. We need AMI, and after AMI, what we need? We need region. What is our region? AP. Let's use AP-South-1. This is our region. Now we need to create another resource. resource and AWS underscore instance and name, what location we are using, the second one. Let's save this. US East, let's say US server, and instead that let's give AMI, and AMI value let's get it from AWS console. Let's go to US East one. Yeah, we are in US East one. Let's click on EC2 launch instance. Let's go with Ubuntu. This is AMI ID. Copy this AMI ID, go back to VS Code and paste it there. And now what we have to provide? Region. What was our region? US East 1. US hyphen East hyphen 1. So now what it will do, we have two resource. Let's make it as this alias resources. This is the alias resource, and the first one is the normal resource. Did you find any difference between both of them? We have provided AMI ID and we have provided resource. We need to provide instance type as well. Let's write that. Instance type, let's say t2 dot micro, and for this as well, instance type t2 dot micro. We provided instance type as well. Now anything else we are missing? Yes, we are missing. What we are missing? Here we have to provide providers detail, provider and .us. We have to mention that. In alias, mention provider, and in provider say AWS.us. This is what we have to do. Now you see, you will find the difference. We have mentioned resource and a resource type which is instance, and the name AMI ID region instance type, and we for the alias we have done the same. Resource AMI region provider instance type. Now what we have to do, save this file. Remember, we are working on multi-region. We have seen providers type, and what is required provider. Now we are seeing both together, which means this one, where it is two. When we use two providers, what happens if we can use two providers or not? That is the thing we are doing here. Run Terraform plan on main dev in resource AWS install user US server. Okay, provider. Let's go to our page. Yes, provider is AWS and alias alias is US and region is US-1. That is correct. Okay, I forgot to run Terraform in it. Terraform init. It will initialize Terraform. Cool, it was initialized. Now let's run Terraform plan. Oh, we can remove this region, I forgot, because we have mentioned it in, we have taken provided separately, correct. This time we can ignore that one. Now run, it will give you output. AWS.us, it is showing mistake. Let's verify that as well. This is the correct. I forgot. In this context reference, especially in the literally rather than in quotes. So it is telling Terraform 0 to 1 and earlier required quotes, but quoted references are now deprecated. So we have removed that one. Let's run Terraform plan again. Did I mention that again anywhere? Anywhere else? Quoted reference are deprecated, but I haven't. Maybe I forgot to save this. Let me save. It's just a warning, but yeah, I haven't saved previously. Now, as we done yesterday, we have initialized the Terraform. We did Terraform init, and after initialization of Terraform, we run Terraform plan, and we are seeing what it is going to create based on our code or the resource and providers mentioned in this file. It should create an instance in AP South 1 and an instance in US East 1. So let's verify that. AFB, yeah, it is AFB, and this instance is going to be created in, you can verify that as well. Let me see where it is. T2 micro south server, okay. And then second one is 7CF, and it is going to be created in US East 1. How I am telling US East 1? Because we have mentioned here, one is in AP South 1, the other is in US East 1. So let's start Terraform apply. Once you run Terraform apply, the resource will be created in both the regions. Mainly this is used in disaster recovery or for backup servers like. Let's wait till it create. As of now, we do not have any resources in US 1 and East 1. See, no resource. See, it is pending. If I duplicate this tab and if I go to AP South 1, it will also show us a instance is, it is already started showing running. C4FF. Yeah, instance has been created. Let's verify the IDs. See, AP South 1 ID is C4FF. If you verify here, C4FF, and this is the Mumbai region and AP South 1. This is the US region and which is US East 1. 24A3. 24A3. That's how we can deploy multiple resources in multiple regions with the help of providers. Here we have used two providers, which is default and the other is alias. In resource we have mentioned For AP South one, we normally mention resource, instance, and server name, instance name, and AMI ID and instance type. But in alias, we have mentioned provider aws.us. Why we have mentioned aws.us? Because the provider is AWS and alias is US. So both together we have mentioned aws.us. And T2 micro, the instance has been created now. Let's destroy Terraform, destroy. We don't want them right now, correct? So just to save cost, we are destroying them. Yes, destroy them. Let's wait till it get destroys. Cool. Both the instances are destroyed. If you verify here, it should show as terminated. Terminated, correct. In US East one it is showing terminated and AP South one also showing terminated. So we can ignore. Now what all we have understood? Let's go to our GitHub notes. We have seen providers. Till now we have seen only providers. In providers we have seen required providers, and in required providers these are the options which we can use. Go through them for read the sentence once or twice so you understand more in brief. And after required providers we have seen what is provider. Just to recap, required provider, we will tell the Terraform to use HashiCorp AWS, and version if we mention less than or equal to or greater than, it will use only those specific versions based on the explanation mentioned here. And we have multi-region concept. In providers we can use multi-regions. As I mentioned here, in providers we can use one provider and the other one as alias. This is way you can use providers. And now after providers what we have, let's see, we have covered providers, multi-cloud concept. Okay, let me show you that as well. Multi-cloud concept, Terraform supports multi-cloud providers. Recently we have seen multi-regions in providers, but Terraform do supports multi-cloud platforms where we mention in providers. If you see here, let's go back to our providers. If you see here, let's highlight this. We do not want that at the moment. If you see here, provider, what provider we have here? AWS. Now I'll go with Azure. I can go with Azure RM. See, Azure RM. And then I can mention the region for that as well. Region or futures, I believe. Let's wait. Provider is US East 1 and region. Yeah. That's so as we mentioned, as we shown here, we can use provider AWS and region other provider Google or Azure. You can go to these official links for more. Azure RM, for Azure RM it will give this details, and for Google RM, Google regions, it will give another one. If I go here, search for browse providers, and if I click on Google, scroll down, it will show you different things here. Google modules, provider, using providers. See, this is how provider and alias version. Google region, US central one. This is how we can mention both multi-cloud concepts here. I have only AWS account, so it is not possible for me to create a resource in multi-cloud concept for a moment. If I have any chance later in days, I'll definitely make a video and upload it here. So see, I have mentioned clear definition here. As I mentioned, by using multi-cloud concept, you can deploy two resources or multiple resources in different uh, cloud platforms. For an example, you may deploy an application in Azure VM or any, and you can deploy storage in AWS or AWS cloud platform or Google platform as well. And Terraform can handle all these providers in a unified configuration. Okay, I have mentioned key components here as well. Use provider alias for multiple accounts or regions. You need to mention alias when you are using for multiple regions or accounts, and that's how it works. And later we have resource block. If you see, resource block describes a component of your infrastructure. It defines what you want to create or update or delete. See, this is what our resource looks like. This is let's go here. I'll go to main.tf. This is our resource. Why? Because we are creating this one. We want this resource to be in available in cloud. So this will be our resource, and this is called resource block. In resource block, we'll provide instance type and AMI-IDs, region, and instance type. If you are going with multiple region, you can provide provider here. If not, you can ignore. So that is what a resource block is. Each resource block has its own type of name. Each resource block has its type and name. And if you want our resource to be created with a name, you can just simply provide this sentence: tags and name. Let me copy this thing, go back here. Let's fade it out. Save this one. This not required. Name I'll give pia-ec2, and where I want to create, I'll create that in same AWS. This is not required for now. If it will get confused again. AP South one. I'm using required Terraform providers and using AP South one, and I have mentioned hashtag here, which means it will not use these files. And in main.tf, I have used hash for this US region, so it will also not use this one. Whenever you want a code or a line to not to perform while running Terraform plan, you can mention or you can highlight that with an hashtag, and it will not use that in particular resource creation time. See, this is one AWS, and resource name, tags name I have mentioned pr-ec2, correct? Save this. Now when I run Terraform plan and enter, just give me a moment. Argument 15 and 14, 15, 16 provider. Yeah, this is being used here. Yeah, for some reason it is not taking here. What I'll do, I'll create a new folder here. Test. I'll switch to test. cd test. Here I'll create main.tf providers.tf. providers.tf, and then I'll write main.tf. From providers.tf, copy this thing from required providers to AP South 1, copy till here and mention it here. Save this file, and in main.tf just save this main.tf. Let's copy this code itself, copy this one, come back here and mention AWS AMI instance type, and example give it as South EC2 T2 macro name PREC2 and T2 macro is fine. Let's copy AMI ID from here. Save this file, run Terraform plan here. I forgot to run Terraform init here. Terraform init, initialize Terraform. Cool, it has been initialized. Now run Terraform plan. It should work. See, I haven't done anything. I just provided tags here. You can see tags all PREC2, tags PREC2, and AMI ID will be same 3AFB, and it is going to be created in what we mentioned in provider AP South 1. Run Terraform plan. Apply, sorry. Provide a value as. Let's wait till it finish. Cool. One resource is created, which is created in 13 seconds. Go back to our console, refresh this page. You should see a name with PREC2. Whenever you provide a name, it will come under this PREC2. Not only here, you can mention tags for here as well. You do this place. You can mention tags for this as well. See, name PREC2. Multiple tags you can mention for multiple EC2 instance, and when you provide tags, the instance name will come here automatically. There's a another thing I wanted to explain you, and just give me what all we left with. We have seen provider, we have seen multi provider, and we have seen multi cloud concept, we have seen resource block, and we left with the data source. Okay, for data source I'll create a new folder again. Data source is a bit tricky one. Data source, I'll change into data, I'll cd data source, clear the screen. Before clearing, let's delete that instance. No, Terraform destroy, let me run Terraform destroy. Yes, destroy that one. CA06, CA6, what it was? CA6, cool. Let's wait till it get destroyed. Yeah, instance has been destroyed. Let's verify. Refresh the page. You should see terminated. Yes, it is terminated. Wonderful. Now come back here, move to data source, clear the screen, and in data source, let's create again two more files, providers.tf, main.tf. Before that, let me explain you one more thing clearly. Data source. What is data source? Yeah, resource block is done. In real world, I mean production time, it is not recommended to hard code values, AMI details or any sensitive information. So we won't be hard coding those things. Data source fetches existing information from the cloud. So hard coding values like AMI is risky and not scalable. Okay. And when I say data source fetches existing information from the cloud, which means Terraform queries API and fetches the latest information which based on the information which we provided. What data source allows Terraform to read information from existing infrastructure or service. They do not create resource but fetch information that can be used by resource block. Wonderful. Now if you see here, I haven't mentioned any AMI resource or something here. Okay, AWS AMI, I'm going to create data. We should use data. When we are using for data source, we have to mention data. We should not provide resource. Okay, I already have a code for that. Let me copy that one. Let me paste that in providers, save. Sorry, in main.tf, and in providers I'll use this one only. I'll use AP South one. Okay, providers, I'm writing the same required provider block and providers. And here, if you see our code, provider, it is not required because we have mentioned in that providers block. See, we are mentioning get default VPC. Why in AP South one, if we go to our AWS console and if we click on VPC, VPC, VPCs, we have a default VPC here. This is the default VPC. Okay, and default VPC we are getting data from. We are getting data from default VPC here. In data, if you see here, we have mentioned data and we are using AWS VPC. We are not providing any value for that. Instead, we are using default, and when we use default, we should mention true, default and true. And when we are using data source, we have to mention data. And in resource, we are launching an EC2 instance, and this is let's copy the AMI ID from previous one. This is not Amazon Linux, so I can remove this one. And T2 micro, it's correct. Tags name, let it be simple data source demo. Output, we are using VPC ID as an output. Output topic we'll discuss more in detail when we get into that session. But as of now, remember, with the help of output, we can get any value from the resource which we are creating. For an example, if we create a VPC, we can get a VPC ID by using output values. And if we are here we are creating an EC2 instance, correct? EC2 instance will get a public IP, right? In output, we can get that public IP as well. Okay. For now, let's see how it goes. We have to initialize Terraform in it. Let's wait till it finish. Simple. We are not providing a value for data VPC. Why? We are fetching it from the cloud. What was our definition? Data source allows Terraform to read information from existing infrastructure or services. This is default VPC, existing infrastructure, default VPC, existing infrastructure. So when we are using data and default VPC, it is getting information from that particular VPC. That's what we are providing, we are telling here. Okay, yes, it has been initialized. Now what we'll do, Terraform plan. See, one resource is creating. In output, if you see here, changes to outputs, VPC ID, copy this VPC ID, go back to terminal, search it, you will see the VPC ID, same default VPC. Okay, so when I run default VPC in AP South Mumbai region, AP South one, this is AP South one, yes. So when we mentioned data and VPC, default VPC as true, it will fetching data from the existing infrastructure. Okay, hope you understood. And name, again it will create tags with this name. I mean, the instance will be created with this particular name. Now I will show you one more thing. This is default VPC, right? I do have an existing VPC here. Go back to here, test VPC, copy this name. I'm unable. Let me write where it was. Yeah, this one. Test hyphen VPC. This is my existing data name, test VPC, and I'll say default as true. So here what we have to do, we have to remove defaults. Why we are not using default one? Because that was the one which was created by us, so we have to mention filter there. Filter, inside filter we have to provide name. What was our VPC name? This name you can mention anything. Okay, let's say demo VPC. I'll mention name as test VPC, as my VPC name was test hyphen VP. Sorry, it will be tag. Why we are using tag to call that VPCs, right? Tag dot name, it will be tag dot name, and why this is, we should use this one, tag dot name, and inside that values we have to provide. What was our value? It is a name, right? String, right? Name. So I will mention test hyphen VPC here, and I'll save this. It should get data from this VPC now. Instead of, and output also we have to mention VPC ID correct, and data VPC default place, let's mention this as what we have mentioned, demo VPC, right? Add that one, demo VPC. AWS VPC, demo VPC. Cool. Now I will clear the screen for a while. Again, we are not providing any value for our VPC. We are getting the data with the help of data. I mean, with the help of data source. We are using data word here, and we are calling our existing VPC to create this instance. So now if I run Terraform plan, it should show us our existing VPC details. Wait, I am having an issue with output. So this is not this one. I have to change. Maybe I entered wrong. Value is equal to data dot AWS, that is fine, and underscore VPC, that is also fine. VPC dot ID, we have to mention ID. Why we need ID, right? Output as a data resource AWS VPT default has not been declared in root module. Just give a moment. 21 value data AWS VPC. Let's save this. Did I save this file? Let me try again. It seems correct only. I haven't missed anything. Yeah, I haven't saved this file, so that is the reason why I am getting this error. When you mention output, it will be same data and AWS VPC, data and AWS VPC. What is name? Demo VPC, demo VPC. What output we need from demo VPC? ID. So now if you see here, scroll up, instant is demo, and this is the AMI ID. and see, let's see what all information is giving to us before creation. Instance type T2 micro, source disk true, tags simple demo, okay, tenancy all known after creation, VPC ID, this is the ID, copy this ID, go back to our EC2 instance. Let's do Control F again. See, Control F, what is it doing? 91B, 91B, only one we have. Now if I create an, if I now just if I create instance, Terraform apply, the instance will be created inside our test VPC. Let me show you that as well. So this is how we use data source. Data source you use it to get information from the existing infrastructure in cloud. It might be VPC, or it might be an AMI ID, and whatever it may be. Apply completed, resource 1, resource ID 0A 0C. However, we will also get resource instance name. Let's go to this AP South one. See, this is PR, the previous one which has been terminated, and this is the one which we recently created, simple data source demo. Why we are getting simple data source demo? In tags we have provided that name, so that is the reason why we are getting. Click on this. In VPC you will see it as test VPC. If I go to VPCs, let me scroll this down. Okay, as we haven't provided a security group all those information, it has taken default security group. That's fine. Now if you see here, output value is showing as 91B, but if you go back to VPC, but if you go back to instance, and this is the instance which we created, and if you click on VPC ID, it will be default one, 8E8. And if I go to VPCs, VPC 6488 is default one. Here also you will see 6488 default one. Why? Because an instance will get created inside a subnet, and if we haven't provided subnet, so it has taken the default one and it is created. But why it is showing output? Because we use data, that is the reason it is showing. So we should be very careful while creating VPCs. To avoid this, we should mention a subnet so that the instance will automatically get created in that particular VPC. Now let's destroy this. Cool, the resource has been destroyed. Let's add a few lines here to create that instance in our VPC. To do that, first we have to mention our subnet. VPC is correct, so we are not changing anything over there. We are getting data for our subnet. So what we have to do, AWS underscore subnet. Yes, and subnet is, let's mention it as my subnet. My underscore subnet. And inside it we should use filter again. Filter and name equal to what we have to use, VPC ID. VPC hyphen ID. And values, what we have to mention values. In values we should use same as I mentioned earlier, data AWC, yeah, this one, dot ID. Correct, this is wonderful. Now we have to get another filter as well for subnet. Filter name for availability zone, availability ability underscore zone. Availability zone and values. What was the value? Let's verify our public subnet. Go to VPC, go to my VPC, this VPC, click on subnets, test hyphen public subnet. So go back to our console and AWS data subnet name equal to, sorry, it will be tag colon name, and we will give name as test hyphen public hyphen subnet, test hyphen public hyphen subnet. This is our subnet name and availability zone, and our value is ap hyphen south hyphen 1a. Save this. Let's clear the screen and run Terraform plan again. Okay, values ap hyphen south 1a is incorrect. How did I write? Annotations I missed. Save this file, run Terraform plan again. Let's mention one more thing here in EC2. Add subnet in EC2. I mean subnet ID we have to add. Subnet ID equal to data dot aws dot my subnet ID. That one, correct? Dot ID. And then we have to mention associate IP address is equal to true. Save this one. Clear the screen. Run Terraform plan now. See, subnet ID. This is what I'm looking for. If you see here subnet ID, copy this one. Go back to console. Verify here, it should match. Subnet details 754 754. So that is how we use. Now if I run Terraform plan, apply, the instance will get created in our custom VPC. In production we should not write like this, but as a demo purpose I am writing in this manner. We are calling two data sources here. One is VPC and other is subnet, and we are adding in EC2 to use that subnet. Cool. VPC is created. Let's go to, I mean, instance is created. Let's go to instance. Get into this instance. Why it is showing terminated? Refresh this page. This is the instance. See, now you can see test-vpc, and if I click test-vpc, everything will be our own one. Now let me go back to instance, click on security. This is default one, but our instance is created in subnet, public subnet, and it has public IP. So this is how we use. And if you want to use custom subnet and custom security group and all those things, we have to provide all the information here. I understand it is a bit confusion, but let me repeat it very clearly again. I hope you all clear till multi-cloud. And in data source, initially what we did, what we thought, what it is data source means, where it is. Data source allows Terraform to read information from existing infrastructure services. In simple words, it will get or it will read infrastructure from the cloud. Terraform will read infrastructure which is in cloud, correct? Now in cloud, what we have default VPC and custom VPC. What we did initially, we have used defaults. When we run default, the instance has been created in default subnet, I mean default VPC. Later what we wanted to do, we wanted to use our custom VPC which was already present in that south AP South one, which is Mumbai region. So what I did, I have mentioned data source as test VPC data, and in filter I have used name and I have provided value as test VPC. What is test VPC? Our VPC name. Test VPC, our VPC name. And later, after providing only data source of VPC, when we run Terraform plan, what it was showing, I can show you. Wait, I haven't deleted that. See where it is. Yeah, maybe I have deleted. I have cleared the screen. We are not getting the subnet ID. So what I did, I have added my subnet ID. Why? Because when you create a test, when you provide only test VPC, the instance will show output as test VPC. I mean the Terraform will show output as test VPC ID. But since we haven't provided subnet, and EC2 instance will always created in VPC public subnet, since the test VPC subnet we have not provided, it has used default one and it has created in default VPC. So what we did second time, we have provided value as test VPC. We have called the subnet as well. We have provided data and what resource we need, subnet, and we have provided our name. In filter, what we did again, same, we have mentioned name and we have used value as test public subnet. What is test public subnet? Our subnet name. If you go here, if you click on this subnets, select this one and click on the subnets, you will see test public subnet. Test public subnet I have used, and test public subnet has root tables properly, internet gateway and all it has. So I have mentioned test public subnet as a name here, value. And in filter, what we have mentioned, availability zone, in which availability zone is the subnet AP South 1A zone. If you see here, availability zone AP 1A. So I have mentioned that as well. The only thing I have not mentioned, VPC value and subnet value. Later what we did, we have mentioned the subnet ID in EC2 instance as well. Instance subnet ID AWS dot data AWS subnet, which is data AWS subnet, and our name my subnet. What we need, ID we need, so we have mentioned ID. And later what we mentioned, we need public IP for this EC2 instance. So associate public IP address is equal to 2 I have mentioned, and I have given name. When we created, the instance is created in our custom VPC that can be verified using web UI interface and see VPC ID and test VPC B9 1B our ID, VPC ID, you can see that here as well, B91B. Go to VPCs. B91B is our test VPC. Cool. Hope you understood. So by this I conclude. I hope by this you all understood what is providers, how we use providers, what is multi-provider, what is multi-cloud concept, and resource block and data source. You can go through these official links for more information. I believe you all understood it very clearly, and if you have any doubts or queries, please feel free to mention in comment section. I'll try to answer them. And again, I'll be pushing this complete detail into our GitHub repo. You can get the information from there as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.